Janet, can you come see me in my office? Oh, man, that right there used to stress me out. Like stomach in knots, what did I do wrong? I am going to cry mode. At my very first feedback session, at my very first job, I cried. And would you like to know what my feedback was? Anyone? Well, thank you. It was, Janet, you do a great job. I am proud of what you've accomplished. Here is a raise. If I had one comment, it was that you could be a better writer. That was my feedback, and I stressed out while receiving it. And better yet, of course he was right. I am an engineer. I could be a better writer. And now, 16 years later, I could still be a better writer. But today I am different. Today I seek out feedback and others' opinions because it enables me to want to be a better version of myself today than I was yesterday. So how did I go from fear to acceptance? Well, in my mind, I remember it as a switch that one day just flipped, and I could start looking at criticism as something to embrace as opposed to fear. But that's never truly how things happen, is it? Instead, it was my journey to understand my place in my world that brought me to this understanding. You see, I'm a weapons researcher for AFRL, and I think that's totally cool. But it's never something that I thought that I wanted to do or that I was equipped to excel at. Instead, I felt that I had found my way into this position by luck. So when I was asked to lead what is now my amazing, awesome, wonderful, and innovative team, I was terrified. Who am I? Who am I? Instead, I wanted to earn their respect and fight to prove my worth. So I learned more about my role as their leader and the mechanical engineer, but also about them and their roles and what they brought to the project, enabling me to be able to speak about electrical engineering and initiation trains and high explosives. By learning about them and the work they do, I was better able to understand my role as their leader and feel less insecure about what they do. And this journey has changed my perspective. It has allowed me to accept criticism and comments as opposed to fearing them, to want to be a better version of myself every day, not for the benefit of me, but for the benefit of us and our team together. Okay, so show of hands. How many of you have been on a team that really clicked? Nice. All right, and how many of you have been on a team that has not clicked? I notice you raised your hands both times. What's the difference between those two teams? It's two words: psychological safety. It is defined as the shared belief that a team is safe for interpersonal risk-taking. It is especially important in teams where there is uncertainty and interdependence. So, research. Psychological safety is needed when you want to encourage a conversation of respectful discord and outside opinions, to have others ask questions about your research, to evaluate it and make sure that it can stand up to scrutiny. Or maybe think about things in new ways. Maybe you'll discover something that you have not thought of before. And the teams that really work tend to have it, and the teams that don't work don't. What does it look like when a team is missing psychological safety? A few years ago, the Munitions Directorate at AFRL wanted to encourage us to have more discussions. And so they invited us to watch TED Talks over lunch and discuss it, which I thought was a fantastic idea, and so I attended. And we watched one by Peter Van Oom titled, "Why I Choose a Gun." Now, I resonated with different parts of that speech, but one of them being that it's my choice to not to want to own or shoot or touch a gun. And so we went around the room and everyone gave their opinions, and I gave mine. No big deal. But then, a few people later, someone says, while pointing at me, "I effing hate people like you." And I was taken aback. I'm still taken aback by that comment. Our team could have been strengthened if someone had just asked me if I'd like to expand, or that they don't understand why people would feel that way. And I would have explained, I've had 2 friends murdered with a gun, and I don't want to own one. It was a missed opportunity to build trust and understanding. So now I want to tell you about a different meeting. At this meeting, we had some of the government's best researchers in their field, all predicting an experiment using their own preferred methodology. And at the time of this meeting, we were in our 3rd year and our 3rd prediction. And the results were not great, which is not what the experts in the room wanted to hear. And it started a discussion about what was the most important area of uncertainty in the methodologies. And not surprisingly, none of them were the same. Now, in the past, this could have led to raised voices, frustration, anger. But this time, we had an extremely productive conversation about what matters to each person and why. And they each went back to their organizations, did their own 3-month study, and we came back and realized that we were all better because we collectively decided how to deal with those uncertainties. And we are better at what we do because of those discussions. Psychological safety is important when you need to come up what could be considered a crazy idea. You need to know that no one in your team is going to say, oh, well, that's just stupid. Instead, that they will be open to it, be willing to try something new. And that is when a team can enter into what is called the learning zone, where innovation can occur because a team has the appropriate psychological safety for seemingly risky, fresh ideas to thrive. So what does it look like when a team has psychological safety? 5 years ago, an Air Force organization came to us and said, we have a really big problem. We want you to solve it. But we want something new and innovative. Think, the art of the possible, which to a researcher is a fantastic opportunity to be free without constraints and to innovate. And so one of the things we thought about was the fuse. Now, the fuse is the electronics in a weapon that allow it to go off, and it suffers many abuses in many instances. The best way to think about it is imagine your cell phone in a flimsy case. Now throw it through a concrete wall at 75 miles per hour and ask it to function. Better yet, you'd like to be making a phone call while getting directions and running a game in the background. And so we thought, what if we could change paradigms? What if we could stop treating the fuse the same way that we have since World War II? Is there somewhere that it's more survivable? Is there a better case that we can put in it? And we came up with a truly revolutionary concept that could we came up with a truly revolutionary concept that only could have occurred with a team that operates in the learning zone. And so we proposed a small study to determine its feasibility. And afterwards, the chief scientist came up to me and thanked me for my presentation. She said that this was exactly what they wanted, to push technology in the Air Force and to do something so new and innovative. And I was so excited. Okay. So what do you think? Show of hands, did we get funded? No. We were deemed too risky by those outside the team. But then, 1 year later, another Air Force organization came to us and said, we are desperate. Do you have an idea of how we can fix the fuse? We're on a path, but we'd like another option. And all of a sudden, our crazy what-if idea went from concept to hardware in 6 months. AFRL decided to further that research and asked me to lead the team. And we quickly coalesced into what is our amazing, awesome, innovative, and wonderful team. We have built and demonstrated hardware. We have transitioned the concept to industry. And now, 5 years later, it is in inventory. And all new weapon systems are considering our approach. However, there is always the pull of the comfort zone that our idea is still too risky, that it is easier to use what we already have, that no matter how hard we push to be in the learning zone, our culture, our institutions, our history tell us it cannot be done. Well, I want us to change that attitude. I want AFRL to be filled with individuals who strive to be better, of teams who can innovate because they have psychological safety, that leaders, when faced with a closed door, look for another way out, like through a window or a skylight, or grab an axe or a shovel. There is almost always a way around a problem. Now, I freely admit that we work for the Air Force, and sometimes no means no, and it's our responsibility to know the difference. But sometimes no just means you haven't explained the problem well enough, or you are asking someone to change the way that they have always done something. To move them from the comfort zone into the learning zone, we all need to look for other ways out, maybe through another door, or non-traditional options like a window and a skylight. And when necessary, break it if it needs breaking. If the wall is there because it has always been there, well, then grab an axe. If it is because they do not truly understand what you are trying to do, well, then grab a shovel, dig deep, find the underlying truth to work your way out of the situation you are in. We all have a part to play in moving from the comfort zone into the learning zone, where new technologies and breakthroughs are found. So where do we as individuals start? Step 1, be better. Go. Look at yourself and understand who you are and who you want to be. Seek out dissenting opinions. Support others on their journey. Recognize yourselves as the imperfect versions that we all are, and decide that you want to be better, not only for the benefit of you, but for your coworkers and your teams. Step 2, go and learn about psychological safety, to understand that it is more than just trust. It is listening, it is failure, it is respectful discord, and then foster it in your teams, in your leadership circles, and in your life. Step 3, break barriers. Go look for the barriers between the comfort zone and the learning zone. Grab an axe and break them down to let the new technology and inventive and innovative things that you are working on through. Now, I'm not going to kid you. Changing the culture of an institution is hard. How do you feel about it? Is it exciting? Is it daunting? Is it redundant because we don't need to change? Every answer is valid. I only encourage you to go and talk with your teams and start a conversation of respectful discord to understand what you can learn about yourself, each other, and the work you do together. All exploration is a step towards better understanding on your journey into the learning zone.